Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, JA, and as always, I'm joined by, you can't tell this week because he's got his hat on backwards, but I'm joined by massive Bucks fan. Or you can see it kind of on the lip if you're on the video, on the strap of the hat. You can see it there, the ultimate Australian Tampa Bay Bucks fan. Richard Garraway, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I'm probably not the ultimate. I'm a bit fair weather, so I'm sure there's someone out there who's way more diehard than me.
Well, Kempy from the college show's a fairly big Bucks fan too.
He'd be
about 3 weeks before the Super Bowl, he told me.
That's a good time to get on.
No, it was when the Brady got signed. That's when he decided he was a Bucks fan, he told me.
So he's Patriots before that?
Yeah, definitely a Patriots fan. He's a Tom Brady fan in his words. Not
yes. Mine. It's like I'm a LeBron James fan.
Yeah, true. There's plenty of people that do that sort of stuff, but that's not who we're here to attack, Richie. We're here to attack the AFC South tonight, and I can tell you, I've got some Richard Sherman ammunition lined up because he is in big trouble, old Richard. Big trouble. Just a quick touch on it. Had a bit of an incident. If you've seen the video, heard the police recordings. Terrible stuff. Hopefully, he has released a statement that he's admitted he was in the wrong. I don't think he's going to be playing football ever again because he's kind of on the way out anyway. He wasn't that good last year, and he's a free agent. I don't see anyone signing him after that incident. He's not that good anymore, and there's no need now. There's no need for that sort of publicity. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, Ted Ginn retired. Did you see that? No,
I didn't.
Former speedster for every team in the NFL. He's 32 out of 32. He retired. I think it was about the 8th pick in the draft a long time ago now. A guy he bust early. He was a bit of a bust. No, he wasn't as good as what everyone thought he would be. Kind of the first of those, elite athletic receivers that they just couldn't find a position for. So they became a really good punt returner. Like Tavon Austin was another one a bit further down the track. They tend to burn out those guys, but he had a great career. I think he won a Super Bowl. He's at the Saints for a while. He's been playing for 15 years, or 14 years. So I would consider that a great career, considering the average is 3. He's played for a lot longer than that. So well done to Ted Ginn on a terrific career. But Richie, we're here tonight for one thing, really. That's really the only news. I said the NFL has been that quiet. And so quiet I've had to come back to drinking. And, when I drink, Richie, there's only one thing I drink. That's Burnley Brewing. And I'm having quite a delicious beer tonight. The first sip, Richie, you were there. It threw me off.
Yes, I was there.
I was like, what is this? I thought, surely not. It's the Whit Me Away. It's a draft with a little bit of orange peel it's made with. Sounds weird. Don't know how it works, but it's really tasty. It's the first sip. I just had my final sip of Coke that I had with my dinner, and it was the first bit of liquid that went in my mouth after the Coke. And I think Coke, because it's basically just poison, it poisons your lips. So then when you drink anything else, it's like, that's horrible. I'm going to get more Coke. But once I had a second sip, delightful, very refreshing. So thank you to our friends at Burnley Brewing. We love your work, love your sponsorship. You do a great job. 648 Bridge Road, Richmond. Obviously, we're in lockdown number 5, Richie, so we can't go in for a beer or a feed. I just want to say thank you, Sydney. Thank you for letting those movers leave your state. And more, what I mean by thank you is fuck you. Really appreciate it. Turns out they were possibly drug dealers now, Richie, and they've just spread their seed across the entire state within a couple of hours. So that's nice. Them dropping off their bags. So good on them. Hopefully your wife goes and gets them. That's all I can say. Deputy Arthur Thorpe, get after him. What is your wife's title now? Senior Constable?
Detective Leading Senior Constable.
Whoa! Slow down, torpedo.
I had to get it right. It just went up.
What a woman. Yes. So we're in lockdown. So I've got my lockdown beard back, which I know is always there. My lockdown hair back, which I know is always there. But yeah, we've got plenty of time on our hands, and I've spent the last couple of days looking at the AFC South, and a couple of teams were quite enjoyable, Richie. The Colts and the Titans, they're fun to look at. Jaguars are okay. Texans. I said, I was just reading through the amount of signings they have had. I don't think I can read them all out. There's that many one-year deals to fill their roster. But the AFC South, the Titans won it at 11-5. The Indianapolis Colts with a 7 seed, also at 11-5, believe it or not.
It's rough.
The Texans were 4-12, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were 1-15. And that brings us to the start, Richie. Let's get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll go through the guys that have left them. Not many quality guys. Aubrey Jones, the D tackle, has left. Al Woods, the D tackle, left for the Seahawks. Chris Conley, the wide receiver, to the Texans. Rashaan Melvin went to the Panthers. Mike Glennon, the massive quarterback, used to be a Bucks boy. He went to the Giants. He should help that room. Josh Oliver, the tight end, went to the Ravens. Josiah Scott, the cornerback, went to the Eagles. Karen Reed went to the Panthers. Eric Sorbert, the tight end, went to the Broncos. Greg Maben, the corner, went to the Titans. And Quinton Meeks, the safety, went to the Bills. Now, Richie, there's something in common there. We haven't heard as many of those players because the Jacksonville Jaguars were the worst team in the NFL last year. They backed that up by getting the number 1 overall pick. They made a few signings in free agency. Nothing I'm going to get excited about. Marvin Jones, the wide receiver. Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle. Pharaoh Cooper, the highly athletic receiver. Jihad Ward, the D tackle. Philip Dorsett, the wide receiver, very fast wide receiver. Laquan Treadwell is still treading his way around the NFL, and he joins the Jaguars on another 1-year deal. CJ Beathard, the 49ers outstanding quarterback from last year, joined the Jaguars. And Shaquille Griffin, the cornerback from the Seahawks, we talked about last week, was a big loss to the Seahawks. It's about the only massive ad they had. He's a very solid player. But the big story for these guys was the draft, where they had pick number 1 and they took Trevor Lawrence. It was kind of the no-brainer of the past decade. No one ever really thought they were doing anything else. They then backed it up later, getting Travis Etienne, the running back, also out of Clemson, wanting to pair the two up. They got Tyson Campbell, the cornerback out of Georgia, in the second round, and Walker Little, the offensive tackle out of Stanford, in the second round as well. Really, let's just start with Lawrence. I think, as we said, absolute no-brainer pick. He's going to be successful there. Can you say you watch a lot more college football than me, Richie? Do you think he's as good as what Luck was?
Yep, every bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of the common trend right now, or thread right now, I should say.
Yeah, if he goes on to, I guess not reach sort of a top 5 sort of quarterback for his career, I think most of us would be pretty disappointed in how that shook out. I think much like Luck, now his career obviously ended much earlier than we probably all expected, but he was a top 5 quarterback for pretty much his entire existence, even when he was good and everything around him stunk. But you could see it. You could see it almost straight away, and I think we'll know pretty quick with the Jags as well.
I think so too. And look, just looking offensively, they're a lot of young guys. Obviously, we talked about Lawrence. Etienne's going to be the starting running back. Along the offensive line, Norwell left guard's been an all-pro in the past, but he's getting older and hasn't been that good since joining the Jaguars a few years ago. Linda's a really good center. Wears number 65 too, Richie. Go figure. All the best centers wear that number. AJ Khan at right guard, Taylor at right tackle, and Robinson at left tackle, who they actually franchise tagged Robinson, who was not good last year. From the eye test was average, and then Pro Football Focus back him up, having him as the 62nd ranked tackle, not just left tackle. That's tackle in the NFL. They bring over Marvin Jones, who was okay last year, but he's a corpse. His career is winding down very quickly. DJ Chalk has shown he can be good in the past, but again, had a down year last year with inconsistent quarterback play. I can see it. I can see why. And then Chenault Jr., who's kind of that big slot receiver, the AJ Brown mold, who we'll talk about a bit later with the Titans. The offensive, you look at the offense, they've got not a great offensive line and a young quarterback, never a good mix to start with. And then there's no real weapon on offense. There's no guy that you're going to be like DJ Chalk. Yeah, I could see him having a good season, but his ceiling's probably 1,100 yards at best. at best, like his best season. I just don't think there's a ton of talent there mixed with a quarterback who's going to be under pressure a lot and a running game that might not be there as well. It could be tough.
Yeah, this is a complete rebuild. I mean, we've also buried the lead here. I mean, they brought in Urban Meyer, one of the hottest, college coach names for over the past 15 years, multiple national championships, done a lot of winning wherever he goes.
Was he at Florida with Tebow?
Yeah.
So I guess on that trend, all these players are going to be murderers that he's coaching right now. If we keep going with,
I think it's a touch unfair. I'm also not going to go much deeper into it than that. But look, it's really it's a complete rebuild, and they had the number one pick. A generational quarterback was there, so you got to take him. He will start. He's probably going to get the crap kicked out of him, like most rookies behind bad offensive lines do. But Urban Meyer is going to bring his style of spread to the NFL. We'll see how it goes, but this is going to take time. I mean, as you said, if we're creating and I think I used this line last week, if we're creating an AFC South All-Star team, not many Jags are making it.
I would argue none. I would argue none would make it.
Fair. I think.
Just off the top of my head, like they also have James Robinson, who was a really good rookie last year. One of the reasons why Travis Etienne was such a weird signing. He was a great back last year. I don't know his exact stats, but he had over 1,000 yards, and he was an undrafted guy. So,
but we know you need multiples. Like we know you need multiple backs, and it's just not a lot of talent there. It's just as simple as that. This is going to take a while. What the key to this is: can Urban Meyer build a foundation for the next 5 years?
Yeah,
that's all he has to achieve this year.
And he's got some guys that can do it. Like he's got some pieces. So you look at the defensive line. Josh Allen, the defensive end, is a really underrated player. He's a very good edge rusher. Very, very good. Miles Jack, I said before, I can't think of any. Miles Jack could potentially at linebacker have been in that team. I'd have to look at the other linebackers in the division, which we'll do tonight. But I think he's good enough to be in it. Schobert's been solid for them. Is he amazing? No, but he's a solid inside linebacker. He's honest. He's going to give you what you've got. And then they've got Kayson, who they drafted in the first round last year as well, who's a really good edge. So they've got two. If those guys take a jump, Henderson, a guy they took in the first round last year, quite high, pick 9, who wasn't terrible as a rookie. And we all know cornerback is very, very hard to play as a rookie. It's a really challenging position. You put that with, you pair him with Shaquille Griffin, who they brought over from the Seahawks, who, I said last week was a really big loss for the Seahawks. So I have to say that's a big gain for the Jaguars. So Urban Meyer, he has some pieces. I just don't know. There's so many question marks around how they're going to develop because we don't know how good these guys are. If Henderson, if what he was last year is what he is, he's a massive bust, a huge bust. If he develops and turns into a good corner, time will tell. But this is what happens when you have these really, really young teams with a new head coach. He's got 5 years. He's probably got 3 without any pressure. And then he's going to start producing in that third year. And then the pressure starts.
He took over a team that won 1 game. The Jags have no history of winning. They were hot garbage last year. The only way is up. Like, I guarantee you, I don't know what their over-under win ratio is, but I bet you they have more than 1. I'm confident they'll get to 2. So it's only up from here. It's going to take years. Like you're doing it through the draft. You don't go. The one thing I'm glad they didn't do is go and splash out and grab free agents now, because what a waste of cash and cap space. They're not going to be around for when you're really good. They're going to be gone. So you don't do it now. You need probably 2 years of drafting, and then in that third year of drafting, then you can bring in the free agents. You've hopefully got the generational quarterback. That's when they'll compete.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's talk about teams that aren't going to be competing, and we're going to go over to the Houston Texans. People will go, they won 4 games last year. They actually weren't that bad last year, but there was, and I'm going to go straight into it, there was a big player that played for them last year that I think we can probably say definitely will not play a game for them this year, and that's Deshaun Watson, who, let's just take away what he's done off the field. It's been pretty well documented on this podcast. We've talked about it. Our opinion on it is pretty strong. if it's all true, he's got a bit of work to do on himself. Let's leave it at that. He's made some shitty decisions and some strange decisions, and he's going to pay for those decisions, I think. So let's leave it at that. But losing a top 5 quarterback from any team makes things really difficult. It makes your team a lot worse. Keep in mind, they also traded away DeAndre Hopkins last offseason, which was one of the worst decisions ever because David Johnson was dreadful last year.
Mm-hmm.
Dreadful. He doesn't look anything like the guy he was. And then they fired Bill O'Brien, which was always coming. When you make him the GM and he makes decisions like trading away DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips and a second-round pick, that's what happens. You get fired. And he made some really crap moves to put them in terrible draft capital. Their first pick this year was in the 3rd round because of the moves he made, and they've got almost zero talent on this roster. So all in all, Bill O'Brien did a terrible job. And they've brought in a guy, David Culley. They were the last team to hire a coach, and David Culley he's been around. He's absolutely been around the league. He's 65 years old. Richie, does a 65-year-old head coach strike you as a long-term deal? A long-term,
No, I kind of feel for him because I think he's been brought in. We talked about this last week where teams will bring in a coach knowing he's on a hiding to nothing and he's probably going to fail, but you need somebody to be there to fail while you rebuild so you can fire him and get a half-decent person in, or the person of your choice if you think you got a better chance to get him. You've also buried the lead here a touch. It was only a day or two ago that Adam Schefter on Get Up was saying, watch Philadelphia for a potential trade for Deshaun Watson. He basically,
please don't do that.
And I'm quoting him here, there's no team out there better positioned and better armed to go and trade for Deshaun Watson than the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I don't know if this will happen. There's you've got a lot of backlash you'd probably have to be able to weather to make that trade. But whether he's there or not, or he's suspended, we still don't know what the NFL is going to do there while it's being investigated.
Well, and then you've got, first of all, Houston, please don't do that as a Dallas supporter. Please do not trade Deshaun Watson to the Philadelphia Eagles unless it's I don't want that at all. The Cowboys just trade for him just to have him compete, have
just
him
stash him on the bench,
just to get rid of him so no one else can get him. But the big trouble in this organization is from the inside out, and it's been heavily rumored and talked about that Nick Caserio, who they've brought in, he's the general manager. Jack Easterby, who's the executive vice president of football operations, without disguising the comments that have been done and reading between the lines, they're kind of pieces of shit and they treat everyone like crap. And that's why Bill O'Brien wanted out. And it's why, remember, Deshaun Watson wanted to be traded before all this happened. This news coming out about Deshaun Watson was the best thing that ever happened to the Houston Texans because it means that no one is trying to get him and the trade rumors have just gone dead. It's the only chance they have to keep him long term, which is obviously the goal when they gave him a 5-year deal. So there's some the internals of this are rotting and it's now affecting the football program.
Something else to think about. The Texans aren't they don't have strong ownership like they used to. Let's not forget Robert McNair, the old owner, passed away like 2-3 years ago now. So his I believe wife Janice McNair now runs or is the owner. And I believe his son Carl is the day-to-day CEO. So being the CEO and the owner,
Cal
pretty
McNair, CEO.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's his Robert's son. So they're not led by a real hands-on, strong owner. Whilst the son might be CEO, he doesn't own it. Mum owns it. So, and Robert, by all accounts, was a real hands-on owner. I just can't comprehend a female owner of this organization standing for what a arguably top 5 quarterback is doing around there. I know you can't just... It's very hard to make the right decision, which is to stand up and say, we're cutting you because you're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
When the punishment because of the contract he signed is astronomical. Because you cut him, you're going to have to eat it forever.
Yeah.
So I get
unless he's charged.
Then makes life a little easier. But
if they're waiting, if he has a misdemeanor, they could technically, if he's charged with something, they could void his contract.
Yeah. Right now, though, they are in a really tough position, and they are not particularly well led. As you said, they're
I'm not even
head
going to
of
go
football operations and that. They're a joke. They've signed 50 guys to 1-year deals. Like, it's ridiculous.
And none of them, like Justin Britt, the center's solid, but
they're going to be the worst. I personally, here's my hot tip: they will be the worst team.
Yeah,
in the NFL
and they also
next year.
went and signed 2 running backs, Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram, and they've got David Johnson on the roster, who they gave up for DeAndre Hopkins. They got for DeAndre Hopkins, who was supposed to be the guy. It blows me away. And you just look at this team. There are some okay players. Like Laramie Tunsil's a really good left tackle. He's a really good left tackle. Brandon Cooks is a really good wide receiver, but he's on like his 4th team in 3 years because and I'm sorry, that doesn't happen if you're a great locker guy and everyone loves you. You don't just get traded all the time. It doesn't happen. Randall Cobb's their slot guy. Their offensive line, other than Tunsil, is really bad. Defensively, JJ Watt left. Now, whether you think JJ Watt was that good last year, he would be second best player on this defense behind Reed, the safety, in my opinion. Eric Reed, Justin Reed, the safety. And he's an emotional leader. He loved the Houston Texans, and him to just go, I want out, please release me. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal for the Texans. So, all in all, I think this team's devout of talent. Just, it's not anywhere. Like, Whitney Merciless, we both really like in the past, but he's getting older. How much is he going to want to give anymore for a team that's going to suck? And I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Richie, but I am sure when we get to the end of the AFC South, they're going to be at the bottom of both our lists. I just cannot see them. I think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL next year. And then blend that with the fact they don't have a first-round pick next year as well. So they've got nothing to suck for.
They've been so poorly led for so long. And don't get me wrong, and I think we've both defended Bill O'Brien's coaching ability. I'd love him to come coach me, but
I don't think he was a bad coach. I just should have been the GM. They used him as an absolute scapegoat.
Yep. I think he's a great family man, all the rest of it, and I hope he gets another chance in the league if he wants one. But just a horrendous GM, made emotional decisions, and basically set that franchise back 5 years. They are in a place that I just can't see a way out for them.
He's currently the offensive coordinator at Alabama.
Oh, well, shit. They talk about falling on your feet.
Offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach at Alabama. Isn't their quarterback next year supposed to be like the big thing?
They are every year, mate. Don't worry about it. They'll be fine.
Yeah, look, I don't want to spend too much more time on the Texans. I think they're going to be dreadful. I'm sorry.
Hot garbage.
If they're not the last team in the league, something's gone really well for them, and I can't see it on paper right now.
No.
And or Deshaun Watson plays. If Deshaun Watson plays, it's a 5-win team. Straight up. He'll win them 5 games off his own play.
Top 5 quarterbacks guarantee you 5 wins.
And mind you,
just because it's them.
It's alleged at the moment, but if what he's done is true, he shouldn't play. He should
not
play. He should not play in the NFL for a long time.
That's because
maybe not ever again, which we know doesn't happen. Like he didn't beat anyone up or anything like that, but if you don't know what he's done, look it up. But it's not nice. It's not nice at all. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team, Richie, though. If you asked me like a month ago, I was so high on them. And something's changed in me. I'm not off them by any means. I'm just not as high. And
I know what it is. It was when Julio Jones went to the Titans, and I did it too. I'm like, I'm not so big on the Colts anymore. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it's the same thing happened to me. And we'll talk about them when we get to them. But the Colts... look, there's still a question mark at quarterback, and this is a quarterback league, and it's generally simple as that. But when this league, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's your front 7 on defense, your quarterback, and your coach. They're the 3 most important things.
They kind of annoyed me in the offseason because they just didn't go and spend any money. Like, they've got so much cap, and I know they're saving it for the likes of Quinton Nelson and those sorts of guys that they've got to sign because they have got a good team. Darius Leonard, another one's going to get big money next year. They've got some good players, but you just talk. I said that they didn't add many, they didn't lose many. I'm not going to bore everyone with the ins and outs all the time. We'll go through some key ones. Offensively, obviously, the key one is Carson Wentz. Also, they brought in Eric Fisher from the Chiefs, who will be hurt. He probably won't play the first half of the year at this stage. We don't know yet coming back from that because he did hurt himself the week before the Super Bowl. I think it was an Achilles tear as well. I can't really remember, but he'll probably miss a bit. But he was the 16th ranked tackle in the league last year. That's no slouch if you ask me. That's pretty solid. They've got Quinton Nelson on the offensive line, who we talk about Donald and whatnot. He's in the discussion. I don't think Donald's the tier, the top tier, but that one down, Quinton Nelson's in that tier for sure. He is pound for pound, take position value out of it, one of the best football players in the competition. They've got Dennis Kelly, who's an outstanding center, first round pick. Glowinski, who's a really good right guard. And then Smith, who's the right tackle, Braden Smith, not Ryan Smith. Braden Smith, who plays right tackle, who was kind of a steal in the draft a couple of years ago, solidifies that great offensive line. They brought back T.Y. Hilton, which I loved. I think his best chance to be successful is there.
Agreed.
Paris Campbell going into his second year. He's a really, really fast inside receiver. Elite speed, can get open like that Brendan Ayuk, those guys at the 49ers sort of situation. Jack Doyle, really good tight end. Naheem Himes, really good running back. They'll also get Marlon Mack back from injury, who's another really good running back. Oh, did I forget? They've also got Jason Williams or Jonathan Williams? Jason Williams, I'm sure. I'm going to get it right. Jonathan Taylor, the running back who was an outstanding rookie last year. So they are stacked in a lot of positions. Receiver, I wouldn't call them stacked, but they're solid. I just think all in all, that offense, if Carson Wentz can be, I'll give you a scenario, Richie. Carson Wentz is 80% of what he was when he was having that MVP year. How many wins do they have? How good's the offense if he's 80% of what he was his MVP year?
They'll be 11 wins again.
I agree. And that's remember, that year he was under Frank Reich, who is now the head coach. The best thing that, who's the Patriots offensive coordinator? His name's slipping my mind. Piece of crap. Signs everywhere. Josh McDaniels.
Oh, and he didn't go there.
The best thing that Josh McDaniels ever did with the Colts
McDaniel. There you go.
Was bailing on their coaching job and getting them to hire Frank Reich, because it's been a great fit since then. I then want to go over to the defense. They've been one of the top defenses in the league the last couple of years.
Yeah, most people wouldn't notice.
Yeah, Xavier Rhodes is coming back. They've got Moore in the slot, who's really good. Rocky Sin, which may be the best name in football. There's a few, but it's up there.
The top
Rocky
10.
Sin, the young corner. Blackmon, the young safety. And then I mentioned before, Darius Leonard is top 5 inside linebackers in the NFL comfortably. Probably competing with Wagner and Fred Warner for 3. He's probably third out of those guys. I could almost push him to second over Wagner just off the top of my head, but very, very, very good playmaking guy. And they've also got Buckner, who, again, went under the radar last year. They gave up a first-round pick to get him from the 49ers, signed him to a big deal, and he lived up to every bit of that deal. He was a difference maker to the point when a couple of games he was injured, the defense was nowhere near as good. So love that move. I love that defense. They also in the draft added Kwity Paye in the first round. A lot of people, there was a big argument over there wasn't a standout DN, so a lot of people argued over who the best DN was. He was certainly in that argument coming out of Michigan. It's a strong, defensive-bound, cold-weather football team. I think he's going to be a great fit on that rugged defense. I think he's going to do a good job. So all in all, I think the Colts, they're well coached. They're strong in 2 areas that just get me going, Richie. They're strong on the offensive line and they're strong on the defensive line. 2 key indicators to success most of the time. Realistically, the only big question mark I have is the quarterback position. And that's what Carson Wentz is going to be. And we said before, if he's 80%, what percentage of himself of that year does he have to be better than Phillip Rivers last year?
90 and not blow his knee out. Got to play all 16. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Here, there you go. If he is 80% of that magical year, but plays every single game, they'll go 12 plus.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't think Philip Rivers was that good last year. I think Philip Rivers' mind was making more plays than his arm at that point.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Philip Rivers he couldn't throw the ball downfield. He turned the ball over in key situations because when they got behind, he couldn't throw them into the lead. I've watched Carson Wentz a lot the last couple of years. I have, and he's had some really bad moments, but he's also had some moments that you've been like, wow, that's really impressive. He can throw the ball still. He's got a great arm. He's a very good athlete. If Frank Reich can get him on track. Also, rumors were he was very unhappy in Philadelphia. And now there was rumors that he was a bit of a dick in Philadelphia too. So if Frank Reich can clean that up, if they can meet in the middle and he can improve his attitude a bit and they can kind of work with him, I seriously think it can be a really good fit. Or he could suck. He could be dreadful. And then we're looking at maybe a 10-win team without him, I think. I think they're that good they can win 10 games. They won 11 with Philip Rivers. I think they can win 10 with almost anyone.
And that's the thing. But if Wentz plays like he played last year, or even the year before for that matter, who knows?
Exactly. It's a big drop.
Who knows?
Big drop off.
I still think they're talented enough that I reckon they could win 3 games with you at quarterback. Like, for real.
I agree. I just wouldn't throw it once. I'd hand it off every time.
Exactly.
You take
Don't fumble.
3 drop snaps that I'll just
dump a couple of screens off.
No, we're not dumping. We're running. We're playing good defense.
I think the point we're trying to make is that they're really
better
good.
off playing a defensive end.
and not having a quarterback.
And not having a quarterback. That's what they'd be better off doing.
They're clearly an extremely talented football team. They've got a guaranteed probably 4 wins already before they even start because the division is such garbage at the bottom.
Yeah.
If you can split with the Titans, there's your 5 in division. Like, you're cruising. You're going to find another 5 wins. And you know what? I could look at their schedule right now and probably find them pretty fast.
Yeah.
They got the Dolphins. They could probably win that. They got the Jets. There you go. There's another one. They got the Raiders out of division. Got the Cards out of division. Like, it's not hard. I've got them 10. So
the NFC East as well. Maybe not.
NFC.
I swear they play the Cowboys, the Colts.
No.
Must have it wrong.
No Cowboys.
Anyway, I think we're maybe burying the lead with the whole division, and I've done that on purpose. I've purposely buried the lead because I think the Colts are going to be playing second in this division, and I think it's going to be the Tennessee Titans. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. Not just Julio Jones, because the Julio Jones addition was huge. It completely changes the offensive output of that team. They also added Bud Dupree from the Steelers, who's a really good edge rusher. That was one of their biggest weaknesses last year. Clowney left in free agency to the Browns. I think that was right. It wasn't a click there. I'm starting to wonder whether there is going to be a click for Jadeveon Clowney again, to be honest. I think if it's going to be, it's going to be opposite Myles Garrett at the Browns. They lost him. Janoris Jenkins, he joined them. Yeah, Janoris Jenkins has joined them. Aubrey Jones, the D tackle, has joined them. Trying to think any other, no other real massive ones. Just going through. Nothing to get too excited about. And then what they lost was not really great. As I said, Clowney left. Malcolm Butler, the cornerback, left. Not a huge loss there. Adam Humphries, the slot receiver, not a massive loss there, considering they added Julio Jones to the mix. Corey Davis, the wide receiver. Julio Jones is just an instant 10-time better upgrade than him, as good as a season he had last year, Corey Davis. Going through, they didn't lose a lot. Adoree Jackson, the corner, who was kind of a streaky corner, was a bit hot and cold, but was good when he was good. He got big money to go to the New York Giants, $24 million a year, which is just... Sorry, $13 million a year, $24 million in guarantee, which is just...
I was going to say, that didn't sound right.
$13 million a year. Still $13 million a year for a corner, a streaky corner. I don't know about that. You mix that all up, though. This team struggled last year in 2 things. Pass rush, and when the running game got stopped, the offense kind of stopped. That was the key thing.
They didn't have what a lot of teams now call splash plays in the passing game, which is basically plays of 20 yards or more. They had more 20-yard plus plays from the running game than they did from the passing game. That's crazy. Like, nobody does that anymore. So that's I was going to say a knock. It's not totally their fault when you got a back that's that good and breaks them off that often. But they address their needs. Yeah. They're a team who says, you know what? A couple of things and that could put us over the top. They added those things.
I understand they're in a window, and I think they are too. I genuinely think they are. I think, and we'll talk offensively. Ryan Tannehill is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I don't think anyone thought Ryan Tannehill was ever going to be good. He is an absolutely outstanding quarterback, and he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league since starting for the Tennessee Titans 2 years ago, by far. So you've got AJ Brown, who is an outstanding wide receiver, the number 2 ranked by Pro Football Focus last year. This modern big slot receiver, like the guys that you normally think, he'd play on the outside. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. That sort of, I think he's a bit big, 226, 6 foot, big guy. You think he plays on the outside, but no, he's a big inside receiver. Had Julio Jones in there. They also get Taylor Lewan back from injury, who's a really good left tackle when he's healthy. The rest of the line's quite solid in Saffold, Jones, Davis, and Lamb. They're good, and they have Derrick Henry. The only big question mark I have for the offense, Rich, and I think you know what's coming, there is a carry hit, right? A carry limit that you can hit as a running back that when it starts to drop off. Derrick Henry has done that 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. I want to believe he's the outlier. I want to believe we have a running back that can get through, that breaking point and can have a long, successful career. But unfortunately, history tells us that it just doesn't happen. And it's consistent and it's constant over the past 20 years that these guys drop off. I am terrified Derrick Henry's going to drop off. I'm terrified. He just got his big contract. Now's the time it normally happens. I know he works hard and they've got the videos of him in the gym, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is he's gonna go personally. I'm not going to try that hard anymore. I'm not going to work out as much, and he won't want it to happen. I guarantee you. But it just does happen, and it's too many carries, too many hits. We know that statistically a running back meets the force of 3 fatal car crashes over the space of a season with the amount of contact they have. He's getting more carries than anyone in the league last 3 years. That has to wear a toll on him. It has to have a toll. That's what worries me about the offense. Do you got those concerns, Rich, or you're not as worried as well?
100%. I mean, there's fantasy articles everywhere about, do you risk it and take Derrick Henry? He's not just the automatic pick that he was a couple of years ago.
You know what the answer is to that, Richie? Yes, you do. You risk it. You definitely risk it. If he doesn't drop off, giddy up. He's a super.
Exactly. And that's what the Titans are banking on. I tend not to sit around predicting injuries, but as you rightly pointed out, that cliff can't be that far away with what he's had to take workload wise. So, I mean, we'll see, because he's awesome, and they could be just anything this year.
Yeah. I think that could be really good. Even if it does drop off, I think the offense can survive. I think they'll still win. Say he dropped off, again, at the end of the day, as harsh as this is, he's a running back. And they are the most replaceable position in the NFL. I hate that that's the fact, but they are that replaceable running back. So they'll survive without him. The key here is Tannehill, Jones, Brown, that work. Can they protect him? But a lot of what Tannehill is based off play action. So they need that run.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, you need that successful running game to run the play action that they do. And
also helps 90-yard runs for touchdowns to win games and that sort of stuff that he's given them the last few years.
It's always handy too. But look, they've, all things being equal, everyone stays healthy. Look out. They've got, for a team that finished first as well in their division, you usually have a tougher draw because of the South, because of the conference they're in. Because of the division they're in.
Yeah.
They've got, I think it's like the 13th tied strength of schedule going in. Now, I know that you got to put a big grain of salt on that.
AFC is very top heavy. We know that.
Exactly. So there's a lot of very winnable games, even when you have to add in that they've got to play a first place schedule,
Yeah.
and with those extra games, I presume they'll have to play the Chiefs if they weren't scheduled to play them already. They finished first, so they've probably got to play them.
And you know what? I bet they'll have to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah, almost certainly. But I would imagine the Steelers end up winning the North. I can't. Yeah, so they'll have them on the schedule as well. Now they're going to go. But anyway, so it's not. It's a much easier schedule than what a first place team would normally get. So they're in a good spot, like a really good spot.
And defensively, their big issue the last couple of years has been the mixture of giving up big plays with no pass rush. Those two things, just both back end and front end, didn't work well in that area. They did bring in Bud Dupree, who I like. Bud Dupree also has spent the last 2 years pass rushing opposite TJ Watt, who's been, in line for Defensive Player of the Year the last couple of years. So, sorry. So really, can he do it without TJ Watt on the other side, drawing a lot of attention? We'll find out. They've got Harold Landry, who was a first-round pick, who's a solid pass rusher. Sorry, a second-round pick, solid pass rusher who they kind of need to step up. The big guy that I love, Jeffrey Simmons, the D tackle, guy who fell in the draft last year because he had a terrible injury and went late, went 19th in the first round. But he was a top 10 pick, no doubt about it, before the injury, and is putting together, had a slow rookie year, much better second year, and going into his third year, I think he's going to be quite a dominant force on the inside. So all things are trending up for that front seven.
You okay over there, mate? Got a bit of Corona?
No, I had a sip of my delicious Burnley Brewing, because what else would you be drinking? And got stuck in my throat. Too good, too much flavour.
Jeez, you'll plug a sponsor, won't
you? You know it.
I think just to put a bow on the Titans, they've got a defensive coach and they've been improving outside of the ball. So, as you say, is that the last bit to drop in? You throw in Julio Jones, which just puts threats on both sides of the field now, and Derrick Henry stays healthy. If he does, I imagine their over-under this year will be 10 or 11 wins. 17 games schedule. I got to get my head around that before I screw up my over-under bets this year. But
you're gonna screw them all up.
Oh, mate, that extra win's gonna throw me.
And it's weird. It makes it uneven as well.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it even harder to pick them. But they're going to be in a good place. I think they're going to be one of the class teams of the AFC.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do the division. I'll go first. Let's do a team at a time first, starting from the bottom. I've got Texans fourth. Who you got?
Yeah, I just can't see any way how they turn it around.
I've got Jaguars 3.
Yeah, with more wins than last year, and I think they're heading in the right direction, but there's just not enough talent.
Agreed. I've got Colts at 2, and then Titans at 1.
Yeah, I think the Titans are bringing back more stability. With the Colt, I don't know, man. That QB just
worries you.
I think it's an upgrade.
Carson Wentz could not start a game this year, and I think they'd still be second in this division.
Probably 6 wins.
Yeah.
Who's the backup?
They've got a couple of young guys. Nick Eason, or whatever. He's a college kid and kid from Texas or something last year.
Interesting. That's right.
Rookies and young players. There's no vet. There's no vet backup.
Very interesting.
Just tough. That all their eggs are in the Carson Wentz basket because Jacoby Brissett left in free agency as well. So their quarterbacks are Sam Ehlinger, who was a Texas Longhorns quarterback last year and was drafted in the 6th round, and Jacob Eason, who was drafted the year before in the 4th round out of Washington. They've both played 0. Obviously,
yeah, he's an air raid guy.
Jacob Eason's played 0 snaps, so they're the guys. I said Carson Wentz could not play, and I think they'll still win enough to be second. I don't think they'll be a playoff team, but they'll win enough to be second. That's it, Rich. That's the show, mate. Good one tonight. We've got next week will be the NFC South, which is your Buccaneers, Richie, Saints, Panthers, and Falcons. An interesting division.
A lot of
I don't know.
upheaval at some of those teams. A lot of change, I should say, rather than upheaval. It'll be
Saints will
very
be a fun
interesting.
conversation, actually. The Saints will be a very fun conversation, if you ask me.
Mm.
I'm need to look into a bit more this year, in the next week, but I reckon they're going to drop down a little bit. I don't think you lose Drew Brees and just get better, to be honest, as much as some people do believe that with famous Jameis crab stealing or the tight end fullback playing quarterback, whichever one you pick.
I've ridden that train. I don't want to ride it again.
I can imagine. That's it for us, Richie. Thank you as always. Thank you to our sponsors, Burnley Brewing. Absolutely love your work, even though the flavour of your beer almost killed me tonight during the podcast. So much flavour. Our Patreons. Hold on. Juju Smith-Schuster jersey this month. Here it is, the Jew. You should be called. I don't know if I should call
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that.
Didn't mean it that way. Apologies, anyone who's offended. Juju Smith-Schuster, really good receiver playing for Pittsburgh this year. $10 a month. We had a new one sign up again this week, which is awesome. So it's trending in the right direction. I said, if you look in the description, the more we get, the more giveaways I do. So it's like, if you're in that group, get it to the next tier so I can start doing a couple of helmets, a couple of signed jerseys, whatever we want to do. Maybe a jersey and a mini helmet, maybe a full-size helmet. Get it up there and let's keep growing it. And thank you to all our current patrons. Love you guys. You know, it goes a long, long way to keeping Richie paid so we'll keep doing the show. Because without it, he just won't turn up. He's all about the money.
I get paid in coffee beers from Burnley Brewing.
And you know what? Worth it.
Every beer. They're so good. It's still the
God.
best beer they've ever produced. Jesus, it's good.
It's just I can't describe it to people when they're like, is it that good? I'm like, you just have no idea until you've tried it how fucking good it is. Like it just changes your world.
The flavors that come through on it without wrecking the beer flavor, if that makes sense. It's
I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm just like, I'm excited to go and.
I think I've got 2 left. I think I've got 2 left in the fridge.
I did a pickup the other day, so I've got some more. So I'll have to do a drop off once lockdown's over, or I can do the drive past the car and just throw it out the window again. And you can catch it on the run. Yeah, the quick hands, the rugby throw. But no, Richie, thank you very much for being here. Burnley Brewing, thanks. All our patrons, thank you, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, buddy.